Hey guys, this is GNO and I'm Claudia Lopez. Today I'm going to be interviewing filmmaker, director, and writer Alexander Lex King on her brand new film, Seven. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Claudia Lopez. Welcome to the return of Girls Night Out. After a long break, GNO is back and better than ever. We're going to have travel, adventures, and more fun. So watch us online and on various channels. Hey, Alexander King, Lex. What would you prefer?
Lex is good.
Lex, welcome to GNO, and thank you so much for being with us and sharing this amazing experience. So, before we get to the film, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you start, and who has been your biggest motivation?
I kind of got into film because I used to write a lot when I was younger. I just never kept anything, or I never did anything with it. So the older I got, I wrote more, and friends and family were just put it out there. So that's exactly what I did. As for inspiration, I'm gonna go ahead with my aunt. I have a lot of respect for her as a woman in her industry, so she gives me a lot of motivation.
You know that usually, parents, they want their kids to be in a very stable profession. Has your family been supportive in doing something as big as directing that has, that is non-traditional for a woman's profession, so to say?
Absolutely. They've been more than supportive. They're very much proud of me, and that's been, since I was younger, whether it was with the sports, whether, the fact that I went to college, they were always like super proud, and they kind of just let me be free, let me be me. And when I share, they're there with open arms, so.
It's very admirable to see a woman in a tough industry. And let's be honest, there's a lot of people who see filmmaking and directing as a man's field. What has been your biggest obstacle?
My biggest obstacle has nothing to do with gender.
Okay.
It's really coming down to being an independent filmmaker and getting that budget. For me, everything is self-funded and it's crowd-funded. I didn't go to, I'm a self-taught filmmaker. I didn't go to school for it. This is everything that I just studied myself and turned it into a reality. So for me, the toughest part, like I said, has nothing to do with gender, but all to do with the budget.
So you're first generation in the industry?
Absolutely.
You woke up one day and said, I want to be a filmmaker.
I woke up and I said, I'm going to do this. I wrote, I have a web series called Aquarius.
Okay.
Aquarius, the show. And I had a conversation with a friend, and then that night they were just like, man, just go write some stuff. And I wrote the entire season in a night. I mean, I made edits over time, but I don't know where it came from. The energy was just like, get that on paper. So that's what I did.
So how do you go about into getting sponsorship, or if anybody wants to sponsor, any of your shows or your films? I mean, how would one contact you, or how would you go about to reaching out and saying, hey, this is what I do. I'm very talented. And by the way, I've seen her films. She is. How does one go about to sponsoring you?
Just reach out to me. I'm not afraid to reach out to anybody and show them my work. And the old work, the new work, to me, it's like you can see my growth in such a short time. I've only been in the industry for like a year, and I see my own stuff, and I'm like, damn, I'm getting better.
Okay, that's good. I've always wanted to ask a writer, filmmaker, director this question. Never had the opportunity though, and it's crazy because I've interviewed a lot of people with this same profession, but this is actually my own curiosity. Your characters, are they strictly fictional, or do you meet somebody that has made such an impact in your life that you create a character based on that person?
I'm going to say they're not specific people, but they're definitely conversations of my experiences, and whether they're in places that I've been in that moment of my life, or there's conversations that I've pushed within myself, my friends, family. I like to go there. I like to talk about things. I like, things get awkward, and I'm like, ask asking all the questions. So yeah, like Aquarius is definitely a representation of a lot of the spaces that I traveled through to get to where I'm at today.
Well, what about the actual stories? I mean, I asked you about the characters. What about the actual stories? You know, like if, for instance, something that happened to a friend of yours, a loved one, or yourself, do you put it on your stories? Or do you actually have this imagination that you make up everything that goes on in the films?
Yeah, it's imagination. I just kind of think of, what I want to talk about and what point I want to get across and how I can portray that in a beautiful way.
The part where you said, okay, so when you see a woman who is in touch with her masculine energy, people have a misconcept of that.
Yeah.
So can you explain to our viewers, for people who are not familiar with it but are interested or curious, what would you tell a person who sees a woman, dressed in a more masculine outfit? What would you tell them for them to understand?
Sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I feel like it's not my responsibility to have to explain those things. And the reason I say that is because, like, I'm me.
Okay.
I'm me. I don't walk around and have to say, I'm a masculine woman, I'm a feminine woman. It's like I'm a woman and I take in all that comes with. And there's very feminine presenting women who have masculinity to them, but you don't see them because it's not the physical, what they show you physically, but it's there. It's just, sometimes it's like, I'm not the spokesperson. I can only tell you about my experiences.
I love it.
I'm serious. I can tell you about my experiences, and that's not a conversation my first thought isn't to go to that. I want to connect with you on something else based upon energy, not about what you're wearing, not about if you look masculine or feminine.
So you don't like labels?
Labels are not for me. I understand that that's how people can understand things,
Yeah.
so I get it. So if someone labels me, it doesn't do anything to me. I'm me, and I'm gonna show up me every single time.
I like that. I'm me.
I like me, so.
The demographics, we're talking about how you want to share your gift with everybody about the queer colored women. Is that what you want the whole world to see what you offer? Or do you want to stay with one demographic?
I want them to see what I offer as a person, as a human, as a soul, as a vibration. It has nothing to do with my sexual orientation, has nothing to do with my gender, and it has all to do with if you're resonating with my work, then that's it. It's not gender-based.
Okay, would you ever consider in doing directing, filmmaking, or writing stories that isn't necessarily about queer women of color?
Absolutely. If you actually look at my work and take out the gender, our conversations are based on reality. It's based on things that actually happen. It's based on thoughts that people sometimes don't want to talk about. It's not based on whether it's a woman, whether it's a man, a trans person. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just take out the gender and it's the story. How does that story make you feel? Does it make you think afterwards? Does it make you say, what would I do? If you can watch a film after, something that I put out and you can literally ask yourself like, wow, what would I do? That's to me a success. That's good.
I absolutely love that answer, by the way. So what do you see yourself in the future? And before I move forward, you and I were talking about this backstage, that I don't believe in giving somebody a timeline. Like, what do you see yourself in 5 years or in 3 years? Because it gives you, I don't know, it just puts too much pressure. But as a gifted soul, and you want to share your gift with everyone in the future, it doesn't matter if it's in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years from now. Where do you see yourself?
I see myself being very happy and very successful. I see a lot of my stories being told, and I'm at the head of the table. Right now I'll take a seat at the table, but I want the head.
What do you prefer? Writing, filmmaking, directing?
Writing is like, I can get lost in my work and I love it. I love it. And directing, because I'm such a visual person, it does something else to me. It's like two separate things for me. Like, writing and directing are two different worlds. Either one I can get lost in. So if you'll see with Seven, I pushed a lot of limits and I pushed a lot of things that how I wanted to portray each and every scene. It's very much intentional and very much how my mind works. Like visually, the colors, everything is pretty much like how I write. Yeah.
Do you prefer to write about love, tragedy, action? Can you share a little bit? Just open up your mind and let us in for a few minutes.
Okay.
What's inside Alexander's mind?
I love love, for
Okay.
sure. But I love all parts of love, not just the stuff that make you feel good. I like the tragedy. I like to find the beauty in tragic.
Okay.
So for me, creating Seven, which is a beautiful tragic love story, is very different because you see two separate characters and you have compassion for both of them. And you're like, you can be mad at someone, but realistically, you're like, oh man, by the end of the film, like you're not even thinking of whose side. It's like, wow, what would I do? How would I react?
So Seven is your baby,
Seven
your
is my
second baby.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about the film.
Seven is based on a fear. So I had a cousin who's no longer with us, passed away 3 years ago. Today's actually his birthday. And it was just, I was pushing thoughts about, life, death, what that means. And I started writing Seven, and I kept going deeper in the story because I kept asking myself, like, well, what could be worse than this? And I was like, oh, what if? Yeah, okay. So that's
Don't tell
I'm not
them.
gonna tell them. But that's really how Seven it became. It just was me pushing such a tragic conversation and turning it into such a beautiful, beautiful film.
I actually watched the film. I was extremely impressed, and it made me want more. So it is a short film. Are you contemplating and maybe turning it into a full movie?
I am happy that you asked that. So because I think there's no limits with Seven, I don't
A
want
series?
to. Yeah. My goal right now is to kind of shop around and take what was supposed to be a short film and turn it into a series, Seven Skies. So that's going to be what I'm working on. That's what I'm going to try to push out.
Okay, well, I absolutely love this. I want to stay a whole hour with her talking about this amazing project, but of course, we can't do that. For people that want to see your film, how do they go about it?
You can it'll be available December 7th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
777.
They're very intentional. And it's going to be available on QuariusTV.com.
QuariusTV.com. Now, for the viewers and future fans, how are they going to find you on social media?
I am on pretty much all platforms at I Am Alexander King.
At I Am Alexander King. Make sure you follow her.
Yes.
Make sure you do.
Something about you is familiar.